All right, so the paper that we're going to attempt today is October-November paper 21, 2024. This was in your mock as well. Now let's go through the data response first. Inflation in Argentina. So Argentina's annual inflation rate increased from just over 40% in February 2021 to just over 50% in January 2022. So the inflation rate is increasing. All right.
Yeah.
It has increased to 50% in January 2022. Argentina's annual inflation rate, as measured by changes in the CPI over 12 months, is shown in figure 1.1. All right, so we have this figure 1.1 in front of us, and we can see that the inflation rate is increasing every month in 2021, in April, in July, in October, January. All right, so it is increasing continuously. Yeah, there was a downfall, there was a disinflation here, but again, if I compare it with the first month that we have, that is, I assume, Feb, I think Feb, yeah, Feb, March, April. So this is Feb. So from Feb to January 2022, it is continuously increasing. All right, there's an upward trend. Now, annual rate of inflation in January in Argentina, February 2021 to January 2022. Argentina has the fifth largest inflation rate in the world after Venezuela, Sudan, Suriname, and Zimbabwe. So you need to highlight this point that it is facing severe inflation. It is forecast to continue to rise during 2022 to reach an annual rate of between 55% and 58% by the end of the year. So it's saying that it will still increase, it will not stop, it will continuously increase and will reach between 55% to 58% by the year end. One of the main reasons for this high rate of inflation is excessive growth of money supply. Now, they have given you the reason for the rate of inflation, and it is the money supply is very high. Now, why does increase in money supply bring inflation? Like I told you, that when money supply increases, the rate of interest falls, right? And when interest rate falls, it brings three effects. The first one on consumption, the second one on saving, and third one on investment. All right. The third is on investment. Now, if the interest rate is falling, people will save less and they will spend more. And also, the cost of borrowing, cost of loan will fall, so people will invest more as well. All these three will result in increase in aggregate demand, which will further result in inflation. Now,
Okay.
moving forward, the need to lower the rate of inflation in Argentina is considered essential by many economists. Yes, the government of Argentina has tried to control the increase in the rate of inflation by imposing maximum price on 1,432 products. So, the policy that they are using to solve this problem of inflation is maximum price. They are using maximum price. But again, maximum price has its own benefits and drawbacks. This has the advantage of limiting price increases, but such a policy can also have numerous disadvantages. One such disadvantage is the creation of excess demand in market, because we know that maximum price results in shortage and creates excess demand in the market. Another policy has been to increase interest rate, which is a way better policy because the real problem was decrease in interest rate and increase in money supply. So you are just doing opposite right now and you are using contractionary monetary policy. They are
Mhm.
using contractionary monetary policy. All right. In
Yeah.
January 2022, Argentina's central bank raised its main interest rate from 38% to 40%. All right. The interest rate is rising.
Mhm.
But many economists argued that this increase was insufficient to control inflation. But many economists are saying that this increase in interest rate is will not solve this problem of inflation. It is not sufficient enough to solve to control the inflation. This is because the real interest rate will be negative. Now, what is real interest rate? Do you know what real interest rate is?
Yes, sir.
I cannot hear you, Kaylin. Can you speak a bit louder?
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Give me a second. No, it's your voice is very low.
What about now, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Uh, what did you ask? Real interest. Yes, sir.
So real interest rate is the interest rate adjusted with inflation, right? So the formula for
Yes,
real
sir.
interest rate is real interest rate is equals to nominal interest minus inflation percentage. Nominal interest percentage minus inflation percentage. Now, if the case is saying that real interest rate is negative, this means that the inflation rate is more than the nominal interest rate. All right. A more appropriate monetary policy would be to lift the interest rate above the inflation rate so that the real interest rate will be positive. So, according to the
Okay.
economists, a more appropriate policy will be when nominal interest rate is greater than inflation rate so that people start saving more. All right, which is logical because if your interest rate is negative, your real interest rate is negative, this means that you will lose if you save money in banks. So it is better for you to spend. So according to the economist, the point is correct, the concept is correct. All right. So this was your complete case study. Now let's move to the questions. Question number A. Part A is asking, using the data in figure 1.1, describe the trend shown in the annual inflation rate in Argentina over the period February 2021 to January 2022. Now, when the examiner uses this word trend means that he's asking for a relationship. Either there's a
Mm-hmm.
positive relationship, is inflation rate continuously increasing, or is inflation rate continuously decreasing. To find out the trend, what you need to do is you need to compare the first one with the last one, and then you have to draw an arrow. What kind of an arrow do you see?
Okay.
An upward sloping arrow or a downward sloping arrow?
Upwards.
Sorry,
Can you hear me, sir? Upwards.
an upward sloping arrow, right? Which means that there is
Yeah.
upward trend. You will use the word upward trend, all right? Or increasing trend or positive trend, all right? This is what you will use. But this will help you gain 1 mark only. You have to explain that there's an upward trend between February 2021 and January 22 because the inflation rate was 40.7% in Feb and 50.7% in January. This will help you earn 1 mark only.
Okay.
Do you see that it is rising till this point and then it starts to fall, which is
Yeah.
disinflation, not deflation, disinflation. So you'll say
Yeah.
that till July, August, September, till September, it was increasing. It was an upward trend, but the
Mm.
percentage started to fall afterwards, which means that there is still inflation, but by a smaller percentage. This will help
Okay.
you earn the second mark as well. So you'll get 2 marks. Clear?
Okay.
Any problem?
No, sir.
Explain what is meant by real interest rate will be negative in Argentina in January 2020. Now, I told you the definition of real interest is what the problem with the student is here, that majority of the students start defining what real interest rate is. They wrote
Mm-hmm.
about real interest rate and did not answer the question. The question is asking how is real interest rate negative? You can define
Okay.
real interest rate. The real interest rate is the interest rate adjusted with inflation, nominal interest rate adjusted with inflation. But you have to explain how will it be negative. So you'll say
Okay.
that real interest rate negative means that the inflation rate is more than nominal interest rate. You'll get 1 mark. And by
Okay.
how much inflation rate is exceeding nominal interest rate, the amount that you will write will help you earn the second mark. Now, in January 2022, what is your inflation rate? It's 50.7, right? Your inflation rate
Yeah.
is 50.7
Yeah.
and your interest rate is 40. So this means that if I deduct 40% with 50.7%, your real interest rate is minus 10.7%. This is how you'll get the second mark. Clear?
Okay.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
Alright, part C. Consider the extent to which having the fifth largest inflation rate in the world is likely to be a problem for Argentina. I have told many problems regarding inflation, menu cost, shoe leather cost, lender, borrower, fall in real income, unemployment, reduction in export, increase in import. You only have to use 2 to 3 problems, and that is how you will gain 4 marks. So it's a very
Okay.
simple question. It's a very easy question, right?
Yeah.
Now, part D. Assess whether the potential benefit of introducing maximum price on 1,432 products in Argentina are likely to outweigh the potential disadvantages. See, you have to write benefits and drawbacks of maximum price, positives and negatives of maximum price, and then you have to reach to a conclusion that according to you,
Yeah.
is maximum price beneficial? Then you have to justify your case. If it's not, you have to justify again why is it not beneficial for society. Now, benefits of maximum price are very simple, that the price level will fall. All right. It will be affordable for people. People will be able to afford goods and services. It will become cheap. But the problem that we have here is it will result in shortage. It will result in black market. If you want to draw the diagram, you can, but it's not necessary in this
Mhm.
question. Black market,
Okay.
all right, queues, long queues, first come, first serve basis. Then in conclusion, if I was in your place, I will say that maximum price is a very poor policy to solve the problem of inflation or to overall implement in society in the market. Reason being that when government intervenes the market, it disturbs the rule and law of demand and supply. It steals the freedom of
Mm-hmm.
demand and supply and just implements and just fixes the market at a particular level. So it's not beneficial for the market. That is my point of view. This will be my justification.
Okay.
Part E. Assess the potential benefits and limitations of using monetary policy to control inflation in a country such as Argentina. So they're asking for the
Okay.
benefits and drawbacks of monetary policy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again a very easy question. You have to write the benefits and drawbacks of monetary policy. Benefits will include that it will decrease the price level, making it affordable for people, increase real income, and increase exports as well. And also, if your interest rate is rising because you're using contractionary monetary policy, if your interest rate is rising, it will help you appreciate your currency as well because people will save in your economy from other countries. However, it might lead to unemployment, it might lead to reduction in GDP, it might lead to lower standard of living, right? People will save more, spend less, which will result in unemployment. So these are the basic benefits and limitations of monetary policy. In the end, you have to give a justified conclusion. You don't need to compare it with alternative policy because it's a 6 mark question. So um,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to go into that much detail. So as
Okay.
for your conclusion, I would say that yes, monetary policy is recommended because the real cause of inflation was increase in money supply, the reduction in interest rate. So I think monetary policy is beneficial, yes, but again, government will have to look at govern other macroeconomic aims as well, that they are not disturbed and they are being fulfilled as well. Everything clear, Kellen?
Okay. Yes, it is.
So this was your 20 mark data response, which I think was very easy. How much did you score in section A?
Uh, two and 14.
14 out of 60 or 20? Yeah, it's good.
It's
It's good.
okay.
All right, so now moving towards section B. Question number 2. Explain the determinants of supply for an agricultural product. Now, determinants means factors. Factors affecting supply for an agricultural good. So you need to write your answer according to agricultural product, such as rice.
Mm-hmm.
So they're focusing on rice. And consider which of these determinants is likely to be of the greatest significance at the present time. Which one of these factors, the determinants, which one is the most important? This is your evaluation and this is your conclusion, right? Now,
Okay.
the question overall is very simple, it's very easy. You'll start by defining
Mm-hmm.
supply for your knowledge and understanding. You'll link with any two factors, which can be either subsidy, indirect taxes, machinery, irrigation, right? Fertilizer. Most of the students, they rote learn things, they don't link with the case. Majority or 90% of my students who attended this mock, they wrote about technology, they wrote about subsidies and indirect taxes and all that, which is not wrong. This is not wrong. But you need to understand that the question is focusing on agriculture. So it is better to write points relevant to that case, like irrigation, storage facility, climate, soil, weather, because these things affect your supply of agricultural good. Now, if now just think yourself, because it's an agricultural good and natural factors will be involved. A lot of natural factors are involved in this in the production of this kind of good. So if government is giving you unlimited subsidy and it's December, can
Mm-hmm.
you produce mangoes? You cannot, right? Because it's they have their own season. So try to
Yeah.
be case specific, try to link to question. So these are the things, and price
Mm-hmm.
as well. You can write about price as well. All right. So you have to write any two. Now, as for analysis, you will explain the factors that you wrote in your knowledge part. Climate and soil linked with weather, rainfall, floods, rough climate. All right. Infrastructure linked with modern irrigation system and water supply, machinery, etc. Subsidy benefits, subsidy on fertilizers, subsidy on tractors, subsidies on machinery. All right. So this is your analysis part where you will explain how these factors affect the supply of agricultural goods such as rice. According to
Okay.
my conclusion, because rice involves a lot of factors, saying that this particular factor is the most important one is not fair. So my evaluation is not all determinants of supply matter equally at all times. For example, in the present time, if climate change is severe, it may be the biggest factor affecting the rise of supply. So the significance of each
Yes.
determinant depends on the current events and conditions. All right. Do you understand the conclusion?
Yes, sir.
Now, question number 2, part B, assess whether supply of agricultural product is likely to be more price elastic or less price elastic than supply of manufactured goods. So the
Okay.
examiner is asking you to compare the PES of agricultural good with the PES of a manufactured good. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to go into the detail that examiner is asking you for a capital good or a consumer good and all that. No, he's not asking you anything. He's asking you that a product that can be manufactured by machines, a product that can be manufactured in factories, does it have elastic PES or inelastic PES as compared to agricultural product? It's simple as that. Now,
Okay.
AO1, AO2, you'll start by defining PES, the formula, the values. Now, students, what the mistake they did, they were focusing more on diagrams, more on knowledge part by defining what elastic supply is, what inelastic supply is, and less on factors. The question is
Mm-hmm.
specifically asking you for factors. Tell me the factors which determine that either agricultural product is more elastic or less elastic than manufactured goods. This was the question. So you have to focus on these factors: spare production capacity, time period, perishability, length of production hours, number of producers in the market. This is what you need to focus on. Minimum three. If you can write four, you have time, you can write four, but minimum three you have to write. All right.
Okay.
Now, for example, let me explain this concept, perishability. You will compare that agricultural good has a shorter life. For example, fruits, vegetables, they have a short life as compared to this pencil. It can be used for many months, it can be used for many years, all right, if it does
Mhm.
not get broken. But if I have vegetables or if I have fruits, I cannot store them for more than a week in the refrigerator. And if I keep them outside,
Mhm.
they will, you know what, their quality might affect negatively in 2 to 3 days, all
Yeah.
right, and they might rot
Yeah.
in 2 to 3 days. So this is how you need to explain this concept. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now for your AO3, the evaluation and conclusion, the supply of agricultural good is usually less price elastic, because now students are so dumb that even in this kind of question they are saying it depends upon the nature, it depends upon quality, it depends. Why does it depend upon your nature and quality? Don't you know what
Mhm.
agricultural good is? Anything
Yeah.
that is produced naturally is agricultural good. Can you store it for 1,000 years? Can you store it for 2 years, 3 years? No, you cannot. So such a dumb approach they have for every question, that it depends. It does not depends every time. All right. Sometimes you need to be one-sided. So again, the supply of agricultural good is usually less price elastic because farmers cannot quickly increase supply. I have given my conclusion. It's less elastic. It's inelastic. All right. Crops take time to grow and farming depends on weather, land, and seasons. Even if prices go up,
Mhm.
farmers cannot suddenly produce more. If the price of apple doubles tomorrow, do you
Mm.
think my production will double tomorrow? It cannot,
No.
because there are natural factors involved. Apple production
Yes.
needs its own time.
Yeah.
Also, many farm products that are perishable and cannot be stored for long. On the other hand, manufactured goods are more price elastic because factories can increase
Yeah.
output faster by using machines and hiring more workers. They can also
Yeah.
store goods and respond quickly to price changes. However, in
Mhm.
rich countries with advanced farming technology, the supply of agricultural goods might be more elastic. Now, I'm talking about a country where they are using high technology. Like in countries
Mhm.
like Pakistan, India, and the Asian countries, we are still using the conventional methods of farming that we used to have millions of years ago. All right, we're using the same
Yeah.
conventional approach. We are not using any new machinery. We are not using any new irrigation system. But if I talk about
Yeah.
countries like UK, USA, they also do farming, right? But their
Mhm.
approach towards technology is very different now. It's very different than low income countries. So I'm saying that in rich countries, yes, supply might be elastic. Supply might be elastic, but again, it is a natural product and natural factors are involved. It will remain inelastic throughout. It also depends on
Okay.
how much time producers have to respond. So overall, manufactured goods are more elastic, but this can change depending on the situation. If you don't write this point, it's even fine. Let me cut it. All right. So this is
Okay,
your
sir.
overall conclusion and justification. Everything clear?
Yes.
Question number 3, with the help of a diagram, explain the significance of a position within a market economy's production possibility curve. Now, when Kalen, the examiner is saying within the production possibility curve, this is what he is referring to. Within the production possibility curve, inside the production possibility curve. All right. And consider whether such a position is likely to remain permanent, and consider that this will never change. Will it never change? No, it will change sometime. Now, uh, AO1, knowledge and understanding, define PPC plus diagram. It is better to draw this diagram and explain all the points, what is actual, what is potential, what is unattainable scarcity point. Then in
Mhm.
analysis, because the question is saying inside the production possibility curve, you have to link it with actual. You have to focus on actual. That this is the actual point which represents deflationary gap, which represents unemployment, wastage, inefficiency, unemployment of resources, inefficient use of resources. You have to link with actual point. Inefficient allocation of resources, inefficiency causes recession, unemployment, etc. Lower output, actual will increase, because the question was focusing on that will it always remain the same, will it always stay inside the curve, will it never move? Actual will
No,
increase
sir.
is possible. How will actual increase? It is possible if output increases, if your employment increases, if you start to produce more, if your aggregate demand increases. But don't use the word aggregate demand in micro question. As for your evaluation, the position inside PPC shows that some resources are not being fully used, which is very logical. This could be due to problems like recession, low demand, or unemployment. It means the economy is producing below its potential level. However, this position may not be permanent. With the right government policies and time, the economy can move closer to PPC, increase output, and use its resources better. In conclusion, a position shows inefficiency, but it is not permanent. It can improve. It depends upon whether the issue is temporary or long term, or how quickly a producer can respond to consumers' demand. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Question 3b. Assess whether consumers always benefit when the government of a mixed economy reduces the role of market mechanism in allocating resources. The question is asking about mixed economy. All right. And it's asking that whether consumers always benefit when the government in a mixed economy reduces the role of market mechanism. So in this question, you have to compare benefits and drawbacks of free market operating in a mixed economy and benefits and drawbacks of government operating in a mixed economy. Then you have to compare, and then you have to reach to a justified conclusion. This is how you have to explain this answer. Students were focusing only on the benefits and drawbacks of mixed economy. They were not talking about the role of free market and government in this form of market economic system. Now, define mixed economy. Very simple. What is market mechanism? Where the role of demand and supply decides the price level and runs the market. This is very basic definition. Benefit of market mechanism, which means that I'm talking about private individuals, the free market. The benefits are very simple. You can write them according to your understanding as well. It's very simple. It's not very difficult. Like the private producers, when they operate in a market, because they have competition, they will try to reduce their costs. They will try to become more efficient. They will try to innovate themselves. They will research and develop new products. All right. So these are the very basic benefits that you can write. However, the problem with merit and demerit good will always be there. Merit good will be underconsumed, underproduced, and demerit will be overproduced because their main objective is to earn profit. Demerit good because it is an addictive good like alcohol, cigarette. Everyone who is addicted to it will always pay a higher price if producer charges a higher price. So this will increase the
Okay.
profitability of a producer. So in order to earn more profit, producer will only try to sell demerit good as much as he can. Again,
Okay.
private individuals do not provide public good because they cannot charge this form of good. And again, the problem of free rider exists. So these are the drawbacks of free market economy. But if we talk about government intervention in a mixed economy, government focuses on equality. The basic benefits that you have learned in your course. Government focuses on equality, distribution of income, a reduction in inequality of income. All right. Government's objective
Yeah.
is to give benefit to society, to provide social welfare instead of earning profit. Also,
Yeah.
they'll give public good and merit good and discourage demerit good and all those benefits that you know. However, they're very slow, they're corrupt, and the resource allocation is very inefficient, which might lead to delays, lack of competition, lack of profit motive. So they will never innovate themselves, they will never research and develop new products. Everything clear up till now?
Yes, sir.
Now, as for your evaluation, I have to decide should government reduce the power of free market or not, right? If the government reduces its role too much, it can create problems. Poor people might not get help, and public goods like clean water, free education might not be provided. It may also lead to unfair outcomes and more inequality. On the other hand, too much government control, if the government is controlling too much, it can cause inefficiency, waste, or corruption. The right balance is important. So a balanced approach is important. It should be balanced. If the government only steps in when needed, like for merit good or helping the poor, consumers are more likely to benefit. In conclusion, consumers do not always benefit from more government control. If government controls the market, consumer will not always benefit. It depends on
Okay.
how fair, smart, and limited the intervention is. A good mix of market freedom and targeted government help usually works best for consumer welfare. So it should be a mixed approach, it should be a balanced approach, it should be an approach where everyone is getting the benefit out of it. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now let's move to section C. Which question did you attempt, Kellen, in section B?
Two, A and B.
Question number 2. And how much did you score?
7 and 7 in both.
What about 12 marker?
7 again.
7 again. So do you understand
Yeah.
what mistakes you did in your exam?
Yes.
All right. Section C. And what about this section? Which question did you attempt?
4.
And how much did you score?
6 and 6.
6. So let's see your mistakes. Part A. Explain two possible causes of economic growth and consider whether the consequences of economic growth for an economy will always be positive. Now,
Okay.
students were linking economic growth with aggregate demand. All the time, aggregate demand will increase, aggregate demand will increase. Yes, aggregate demand helps in economic growth, but the real meaning of economic growth is that your productive potential increases. The real meaning of economic growth
Mhm.
is that your productive potential increases. And how will your productive potential increase? Through supply side, right? Technology,
Yeah.
innovation, research, and development. So this is what they fail to understand, and this is where they had problems. So if you're writing about aggregate demand, fine, go with it, but you need to explain one supply side factor as well. Now, define economic growth. When the productive capacity, the productive potential of your economy increases, you can draw production possibility curve diagram and shift it rightwards if you want to. Two possible cases of economic growth: improvement in quality of workforce, technology, research and development, mobility of factors of production. I have written four, you have to explain two only. Then you
Yeah.
have to you have to explain that is economic growth always beneficial for an economy? So how will you explain this? You'll say that your standard of living will rise. Yes, your standard of living will rise. You have to explain the concept that if government provides subsidy, it will make goods cheaper and available for everyone. The supply will increase, unemployment will fall, standard of living will rise. This can be your one of the advantages. As for the unemployment decrease, you can say that once government provides training to people, educate people, they'll learn new skills, their occupational mobility and geographical mobility may increase, and they might move to other countries, and they might switch to other jobs, so the unemployment level will fall. As for the negatives,
Yeah.
because it is not always beneficial, more industrialization means more pollution and more usage of
Yeah.
resources. So this might result in depletion of resources. This might result in problems to society, pollution, and welfare loss to society. This is how you can explain the negative part. So for my evaluation, AO3, not all causes of economic growth bring only benefit. It can it can be harmful for economy as well. For example, growth from increased consumption can lead to inflation or more imports. Again, the link with aggregate demand. While growth from investment may take time to show results, so it is time consuming. Also, some types of growth may damage the environment or increase inequality. So the effect of growth depends on its source and how well it is managed. All right. So I've given my conclusion that it depends upon what kind of step you're taking for economic growth. Everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Part B, assess whether government should always aim for expansionary fiscal rather than contractionary fiscal policy. Now, it's a very dumb question by the examiner, He should have told us that what do we have to do? Do we have to increase aggregate demand, or do we need to decrease inflation, and we have to control inflation? So it's a very generalized
Mhm.
question, which I think is one of the most easiest things that a student can get in his exam. Now,
Okay.
you have to explain the difference between expansionary and contractionary. It's very simple. Expansionary means aggregate demand will rise. Give one or two examples, and contractionary means that aggregate demand will fall. Give one or two examples. Now, the benefits of increase in aggregate demand include multiplier effect, economic growth, FDI, foreign direct investment. But the drawback is inflation. Imports might increase, exports will fall. And as for this, this is bad deflation. This is also known as bad deflation. Yes, your inflation level will fall, imports will fall, exports will rise. However, this will result in downward multiplier, economic growth will fall, foreign investment will fall. It's a very simple, very basic question. As
Mhm.
for your evaluation, why did I call examiner dumb? Because I said that he did not tell us what do we have to do. This is what you will use in your evaluation. You will say
Yeah.
expansionary fiscal policy can help increase demand, create jobs, support economic recovery when there is recession. Yes. However, if it is used at the wrong time, it might result in hyperinflation. It may also increase government debt, loan on government. On the other hand, contractionary fiscal policy helps control inflation. Yes, it will reduce budget deficits. Yes, but it will slow down the economy, right? It will increase
Okay.
unemployment. So the best
Yeah.
choice depends upon what? Economic condition. Like, what do you need to do? What about inflation? What is inflation in the economy? Is there inflation or is there deflation? What is going on in your country? Like inflation level, unemployment rate, public debt. Also, the impact may differ in the short run and long run. Conclusion: so the government should not always choose expansionary policy, it should decide based on economic situation and aim for
Yeah.
a balanced approach when needed. Do you need to control deflation? Do you need to control inflation? What do you want to do? It depends on your aims, your objectives. Do you understand, Kalen?
Yes, sir.
Now, the last question: explain the potential advantages of free trade and consider whether such advantages are always greater than the potential disadvantages. Again, a very simple question. Just asking you about the free trade, the benefits and drawbacks of free trade, and what should we do? Should we go for free trade or should we go for protectionism? A very simple question. Define free trade. You have benefits and drawbacks written in your notes, a lot of benefits and a lot of drawbacks, right? So, in analysis, you'll focus on your drawbacks. In analysis, you'll focus on the drawbacks. All right. You have to compare.
Mm-hmm.
Then, in evaluation, free trade works well in countries that are strong and well prepared. So I'm telling the examiner that free trade is beneficial for a country which is self sufficient, which is not dependent on anyone. But in weaker
Yeah.
economies, it can cause problems if there is no support for local industries or workers. The benefits also take time
Yeah.
to appear and are not shared equally by everyone. So it depends on how the country handles the change. So it depends upon the country itself. Free trade is useful. Yes, it is useful, no doubt, but only if supported by good government policies. Government needs to be to involve in this decision making. Government needs to involve in international trade and implement some policies to support and protect their local industries. Without
Okay.
that, the drawbacks can become more serious than the benefits. Without that, the drawbacks can be more harmful than the benefits. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, as for your last part, assess whether an economy will always benefit from having surplus on the current account of its balance of payment. This is one of the easiest exams ever tested. Now, the question is asking that having a current account surplus, is it always beneficial? Now, student gets confused, sir. What is the diagram? Which diagram should I draw in this specific question? What is the formula of aggregate demand? It's C plus I plus G plus X minus M, right?
Yeah.
And balance of trade surplus means that your export is high, your import is low. So this will increase aggregate demand, right? You can easily draw
Yes.
aggregate demand shift. It's very simple. Now, Define current account surplus. You need to define what current account is first, what is balance of payment, what is current account surplus. Then for your benefits, you will draw this diagram and you will link with the benefits like aggregate demand will rise, unemployment will fall, this will result in multiplier effect, economic growth, foreign direct investment will increase, domestic consumption will increase, exchange rate will increase, this and that. All right. So you need to give these pointers. You need to
Mm-hmm.
explain these pointers. You have to link with the
Okay.
diagram. However, this could result in inflation and this could result in recession. This could be the result of recession that hey, my export is rising because I am existing in a recession and my price level is falling at this particular stage. So if my economy, my country is facing recession, my prices will automatically fall and this will lead to increase in exports. So the reason for having current account surplus could be a recession that you are facing in your economy. Uh, the last drawback that I've written here that if your export is rising, this will result in appreciation, but this appreciation will further lead to a reduction in your current account surplus in future because through appreciation, your price level will rise, the product price will increase, and people will stop buying your good. So this will result in a reduction in export. All right. You can also link it with hyperinflation. You have to link it with hyperinflation. As for your evaluation, is current account surplus always beneficial? Now, a current account surplus may seem good because it shows the country is exporting more than importing. Importing, very good point. Bringing in foreign earnings, yes. But if the surplus is too high, it could mean people are not sending enough or the country is too dependent on exports. Like, let me give you an example of, let's say, China. The major chunk of China's GDP come from exports. Now, if the world goes
Yeah.
against China and they come up with a policy that we will never buy goods from China, China will fall into recession because it is dependent on exports. Now, it may also lead to tension with trading partners. In some cases, a surplus might lead to currency appreciation, like I just told you, making exports more
Mm-hmm.
expensive. This will make exports more
Yeah.
expensive. The benefit also depends on how the surplus is achieved. So, the benefit also depends on how surplus is achieved because the current account has four things: trade in good, trade in service, net income, net transfer. Net transfer or secondary income is also a part of your current account. Maybe other countries are providing you aids. Maybe you are getting remittances. This is how your current account is increasing. It is getting into surplus. All right. So again,
Yes.
depends on how surplus is achieved, whether through strong exports or weak domestic demand. Conclusion. So a surplus is not always beneficial. It can be good if it comes from strong exports and productivity, but harmful if it signals weak demand or causes other problems. Everything clear, Kalen?
Yes, it is.